Hello, my name is Matthias and welcome to the FPL scope and my team selection video for Game Week 16. But before we go into what I'm going to do in Game Week 16 and also look at my free hit draft for Game Week 16 and what happened in the free hit draft for Game Week 15 and also what happened with the manager of the week this week, I'm going to go through what happened with me in Game Week 15. And as you can see here on the screen if you're watching, I got 36 points, which is usually not a good score, but this week it's actually a decent score. I was actually right on the edge of getting a green arrow. I got a slight green arrow up to 380k in the world. Pretty happy about that at this point in the season with my wildcard in hand, every chip in hand. That still gives me 61 points up to the top 10k, which is unchanged from last week. And I have 890 points overall. So when it comes to the game week, the one transfer that I did do was Flecken to Dubravka. I needed to change Flecken because I needed a goalkeeper for Game Week 18 anyway, because Flecken is not going to play in Game Week 18 and Turner on the bench has lost his place already for Nottingham Forest. So I had to do something with the goalkeeper spot, so getting a Newcastle defender or defensive player seemed like a no-brainer, especially with Dubravka being only 4.0 when I bought him. I bought him a day after the 3.9 price rise for him, so probably should have bought him a day earlier, but either way, that's only 0.1 difference. Doesn't really make that much of a difference. So that was the only transfer I did, and this week it didn't really make much of a difference at all because both Dubravka and Flecken ended up with 2 points each. So yeah, but I just needed to do it for the future, and also Dubravka had a pretty decent chance of getting bonus points and clean sheets as well before Trippier messed it all up and yeah, basically made Newcastle concede the first goal, and then the floodgates were opened after that and Everton beat them 3-0. So yeah, not the best from Dubravka in the end, but he was close to getting a high score at least, and I think he's a much better goalkeeper for the future than Flecken. Then when it comes to the rest of my team, pretty lackluster game week. I had one auto sub with Chimikas not playing at all for Liverpool, and that meant that Kabore came on for me, and Kabore got 0 points because he conceded 4 goals against Arsenal. So yeah, 2 points for playing the game and then minus 2 points for conceding 4 goals. So 0 pointer in from Kabore. Really unhappy about Chimikas not coming in because that would have blocked some other people from getting high scores, as we'll see with the manager of the week. But yeah, next player up, Gabriel, 1 point. Again, conceded against Luton, 3 goals against Luton, which is really, really bad. Just really disappointed with Arsenal's defense in terms of just keeping the clean sheet this season. They just seem to concede stupid goals, even though they don't really concede that many chances. But yeah, Udogie as well. He conceded against West Ham, which I was really happy about because I'm a West Ham fan. So getting a derby win over Spurs meant much more than getting a clean sheet in FPL. So really happy about that. Udogie also technically got an assist when he passed it back to the goalkeeper. And gave Ward-Prowse the opportunity to score the 2-1 goal, which meant 3 points for West Ham. So happy about that. 1 point for Udogie, 3 points for West Ham. I'll take that trade any day of the week. Salah, speaking of 3 points, he got 3 points from just playing 67 minutes, doing nothing and getting subbed off. He got a clean sheet point as well, so that means he gets 3 points. And as my captain, that means he gets 6 points. Disappointing week from him, but also the other captaincy options in Son and Haaland also failed. They both blanked. 2 points for Son, 2 points for Haaland. Didn't really make much of a difference. Saka with 5 points. He got another assist on the first goal for Arsenal. So yeah, again, Saka just finds a way to chip in. And Mbeumo scored a penalty before he sadly had to be subbed off with an injury, and he's going to be out for a couple of weeks now. So he is going to be the man of the hour when it comes to who we're going to replace in the team for Game Week 16. So we're going to get to that pretty soon as well. Cole Palmer scored a really nice goal for Chelsea against Man United in a game where Chelsea really struggled and Man United looked way better than Chelsea. I thought that was really interesting, but Palmer got the goal, 8 points in total, which I'm happy with. And then up front, we had Darwin with the weird performance where he was benched. He came on, missed a big chance, as always, got a stupid yellow card, went down to 0 points. It looked really bad. And then he did a really good play towards the end of the game where he tackled the ball really nicely, passed it perfectly to Szoboszlai, who scored a really good goal for Liverpool. So 3 points in the end for Darwin. Really eventful week, but only 3 points, which is not the best. But all in all, that meant 36 points, which is decent, I guess. Still not too happy about my current team, but it's mostly because it's just really template. So yeah, I'm looking to change that up a little bit. But as we'll see that towards the end of the video, because I've saved it for the end of the video this time with my plans for Game Week 16. But first, instead, let's take a look at what happened with the Manager of the Week in the FPL Scope Mini League. And this week, it is actually Dinesh Mendes who is the Manager of the Week, and he is someone who is in my personal mini league as well. A league with plenty of Sri Lankan people, because my Kevin, who's the co-host of the FPL Scope podcast, he's my former roommate in the UK. He has a big family league where I've joined like 5-6 years ago or something. I won it back to back as well. Really happy about that. But then the last 3 seasons I haven't won it. And Dinesh actually won it last season, I think, or 2 seasons ago, probably. So he's actually a really good manager. And as you can see, ended up with a really nice score of 47 points. Some of it was kind of lucky though. Benching Palmer was not the best idea, I guess. But then with Tsimikas not coming on for Liverpool, that meant that Palmer came on as an auto sub, 8 more points there, which secured the Manager of the Week honors for Dinesh. So yeah, congratulations with that. In general, the team not too good. Apart from that, obviously Bowen with the goal against Spurs, fantastic. I'd love to see that as well. Castani with the clean sheet for Fulham, one of the few guys with the Fulham player, I guess. Dinesh, Fulham were like the major players this game week with 5-0 against Nottingham Forest. I will be scoring a brace, Pereira getting assists and a goal, I think, as well. Raul Jimenez scoring a brace as well. So yeah, Fulham were the team to target, and at least Dinesh had Castani for this game week. But same thing here, Salah captain, 6 points, not too much. Mbeumo and Saka, Darwin. Pretty similar team, like I said. It's a pretty template team that I have currently. Dinesh actually has a player that I really want in Trippier, who obviously made 2 massive mistakes against Everton. That meant that they conceded, but he does look like a really good option. Not particularly next week, but from game week 17 onwards, 17, 18, 19, he has 3 really good fixtures. So he's someone that I'm looking to bring in at some point during that run. But he's also on 4 yellow cards, which is kind of a worry. So, but yeah, either way, the only transfer Dinesh did was sort of similar to me as well. It was just Strakosha out for Dubravka. 0 points for Strakosha, obviously. Areola also didn't play, which ended up being really lucky for anyone that transferred in Dubravka, because normally they would have Areola and Turner, or Areola and Strakosha in this instance, and would get 0 points, but at least they got 2 points now from Dubravka. Could have been even better as well. Could have been a 9-pointer rather than having the Areola pick. So Areola is also someone you might have to replace, but at the same time, he's also probably not out for long. I suspect that he's going to be out only for Game 16, and he's going to be back for Game 17. So maybe you don't want to waste the transfer on a goalkeeper if you have someone like Areola and Turner. But Dubravka, if you have the Newcastle spots available, such a simple transfer, I think. Areola to Dubravka. I think Dubravka is going to be the goalkeeper for the foreseeable future as well. So I think that's a good transfer if you have the Newcastle spot open as well. But yeah, that has been Dinesh, the Manager of the Week this week, 47 points. And if you want to be the Manager of the Week, you can join the mini league for the FPL Scope, and that is league code V9JT0D. And if you have the highest score in a particular game week, you get featured here on the FPL Scope YouTube channel. So yeah, that's what's happened with Dinesh. But we're not only going to talk about the past game week, we're also going to look into the next game week for Dinesh as well. So let's take a look at how his team is shaping up for Game Week 16. So yeah, there's one guy with the red triangle, I guess, on not on here, but on the actual FPL website, and that is Brian Mbeumo. He's going out for a couple of weeks, and he's also going to travel to AFCON as well in Game Week 21. So that means Mbeumo is basically just eliminated as an FPL pick, and that means we need to replace him. And there are actually quite a few good replacements here, and yeah, let's just talk about them straight away. Dinesh has one free transfer, and 1 million in the bank, so has a lot of funds to bring in anyone who's 7.2 or below, I think. So quite a few good players you can bring in here. But the one standout pick, especially looking at this midfield, it's a pretty template midfield apart from Bowen rather than Son, and yeah, that's pretty much the template pick or template midfield currently. But the one other guy who's pretty popular and who's going to be a lot more popular now going forward is Anthony Gordon for Newcastle. So he's like a pretty decent pick, I think, this week. In general, he's been fantastic at home and not so good away. So maybe he's not the best pick for this game week. But since you have to sell Mbeumo most likely this game week, I mean, you could potentially bench Mbeumo and play Castagne against West Ham. But West Ham usually score goals as well. So I don't know if that's the best guy to have in your team anyway. So selling Mbeumo is probably the right option here, and Gordon, even though his next fixture isn't the best, even though Spurs obviously concede a lot of goals lately, the next fixture isn't the best for Gordon, but the 3 fixtures after that, like I mentioned with Trippier, Game 17, 18, 19 are just fantastic for Newcastle, and especially for Gordon as well. 2 home games in those 3 fixtures as well. 2 really easy home games with, can't remember who was the first in Game 17. But Game Week 19 is against Nottingham Forest at home, and we just saw Fulham just completely destroy them. So I think Gordon is a really good pick. Obviously, he's a template pick for a reason. This week, he's going to be getting a lot more ownership as well. Probably going to rise in price as well. So that is the simple pick if you just want to be simple and template and boring, I guess. Gordon makes sense, and Dinesh has the Newcastle spot open as well with Dubravka, Trippier, and no other Newcastle players. So Gordon can easily take up that spot, and that's a simple transfer, really. Then we also have Hwang, who also has he has the best fixture for next game week against Nottingham Forest at home. That's a much better fixture than what Gordon has. The thing with Hwang though, especially if you don't have a wildcard, like Dinesh, who used his wildcard in Game Week 10, he's also going to be leaving around Game Week 21. I think Game Week 21 is the cutoff point where you're not going to have any players from Asia or Africa basically playing, because that's both when African Cup of Nations starts and when the Asian Cup starts. So that means Hwang is going to go with South Korea to play in that tournament. He's going to be out for a little while, so you have to sell him for Game Week 21. But seeing as Dinesh doesn't have Son, that's one less player to need to think about when selling. So Hwang actually is a decent option, because if you have Salah, Son, Hwang, Kudus, these sorts of guys that you need to sell, Nicholas Jackson, if you still have him for some reason, these guys that are going to leave in Game 21, if you have a lot of these guys, it's going to be difficult to navigate. But seeing as this team only has basically Salah and Mbeumo is someone who would be sold anyway, it doesn't really make that much of a difference to have to sell Hwang. And Hwang actually has some decent fixtures up until Game Week 19 as well, or Game Week 20 as well. So he's also a really good pick, and especially with this coming fixture against Nottingham Forest, who are just really in shambles, really terrible right now. Steve Cooper is close to getting the sack. Apparently, if they lose to Wolverhampton, he might be getting sacked as well. So this Nottingham Forest fixture is also just like a hot commodity currently, because they are just in terrible form, and yeah, they're there for the taking. Hwang has been in perfect form as well himself. He scored in the last 2 game weeks, got 10 points this past game week, as we'll see with the free hit draft. So he's also a really good pick. And then finally we have Raheem Sterling, who's more of a differential pick, I guess, who is 7.0. Still leaves enough money in the bank for Dinesh to get in Ollie Watkins in for Darwin for Game Week 18, because you need to figure out a way to get Watkins in for Game Week 18, I think, because he plays Sheffield United at home, and that's going to be a really good fixture, and that's going to be the best captaincy option in Game Week 18. So I think you need to preserve the money to do that transfer. Obviously, in Mbeumo you could get someone even more expensive, but I think you sort of need to cap it around 7 million just to have that 1 million in the bank to do Darwin to Watkins most likely in Game Week 18. So those are my thoughts for the players. Sterling, I think, just has a really high ceiling. Chelsea obviously have really good fixtures for the foreseeable future, so doubling up with Palmer and Sterling probably isn't the worst. I think they have just a fantastic set of fixtures for a long while, so that might be the best long-term pick, because like I mentioned with Hwang, he's going to be leaving for the Asian Cup in Game Week 21. And the thing with Gordon as well is the fact that Harvey Barnes is meant to be like his competition at the left wing spot for Newcastle, and he's been out injured for the last couple of months, and that's why Gordon has been such a great pick the last basically 2 months. If you had him in FPL for this whole time, congrats to you, because you probably have a really high rank so far this season. But Harvey Barnes is going to come back pretty soon after the turn of the new year, and especially seeing as like Game Week 21 is such a long game week, it's like across 2 weeks, and there's also 2 weeks between Game Week 20 and 21, and there's also a couple weeks between Game Week 21 and Game Week 22. That means there's a lot of recovery time for the players that have been out for a while. So I think Harvey Barnes is going to be back by Game Week 22 at the latest, and that's going to make Gordon way less of an interesting prospect, because that means that he's going to be rotated a bit more, because Harvey Barnes is a fantastic player in his own right. So Gordon is also sort of more a short-term pick. I think Sterling is someone you can keep until like Game Week 27, for example, because yeah, they have just really good fixtures, and Sterling is someone who plays really well against lesser teams as well. So yeah, I think there are arguments to go with Sterling rather than Gordon and Hwang. Seeing as you don't have a wildcard, you can't wildcard Gordon and Hwang out in Game Week 20, for example, which is something that I might have to do. So yeah, there are some options there. You can also go with someone like, well, you obviously have Bowen already, so you can't really, going with Kudus up on top of Bowen would be too much, I think. Bowen is in his own right a good replacement if you don't have Bowen. He is someone that you could look into buying as well. I think he's a good pick. Could look for someone like Brennan Johnson or Kulusevski, but I don't think Kulusevski has proven enough in terms of attacking output this season, and Brennan Johnson is going to be under threat by Richarlison, so I don't know. I'm not too sold on those guys either. You also have Garnacho, who I'm going to mention with my own personal plans as well, who is someone that I really like for the price of 4.7. That's a lot more money in the bank, so that means that you could potentially try to save up so you can go from Archer to Watkins in Game Week 18 rather than selling Darwin, because Darwin has a really nice fixture against Burnley in Game Week 19, Burnley away. So that is also a potential change where you can get Garnacho. I think he has some decent potential if you want to have that money in the bank for Game Week 18 and 19. So he's also someone that I'm considering myself. So those are a couple of nice options you can choose to replace Mbeumo with, I think. So yeah, other than that, the team is looking decent. A lot of good fixtures in terms of the opposition, but in terms of playing at home, not so good, because as you can see, every single player in the starting 11 is playing away from home. That would be different if you get in Hwang, but both Sterling and Gordon play away from home as well. So yeah, it's just going to be road warriors this game week, but that's not always too bad. Sometimes it works out, but yeah. The defense as well, it's kind of not the best this game week. I think Tsimikas is going to be back in playing against Crystal Palace, and Crystal Palace can't really score goals now, so I think that's actually a really good fixture for Tsimikas if he plays, and he most likely is going to play. Gabriel just hasn't kept clean sheets in general the past few weeks. Aston Villa away is one of the toughest fixtures in the league, so could potentially bench him for Castagne. Maybe you prefer Castagne over Gabriel. That might be like a decision there, but I just like Gabriel in general. I'm a huge fan of Gabriel if you haven't watched my content. So yeah, I just prefer him basically. But all the attacking players looking really good. I think Darwin is going to start again. If you sell Mbeumo for one of the three guys I mentioned, it's also pretty good fixtures. Gordon away is not the best, but both Sterling and Hwang could score a lot of goals as well. So yeah, some really good options there. So yeah, captaincy, I think just Haaland is basically the easy captain against Luton. Makes a lot of sense. I mean, it is Kenilworth Road where Luton have been pretty good so far this season, but maybe I want to go with Salah, but I go with Salah for so many game weeks now and he hasn't really panned out. So personally, I'm a bit tired of captaining him, but it is kind of tempting still because Crystal Palace are just terrible at the moment and are losing pretty much every game. They lost now against Bournemouth as well. Bournemouth, for that matter, are a really good team. So, but either way, I think Haaland is my preferred captain still. I have to think about that, but yeah, Salah is still an okay option, I think. Other than that, maybe Bowen against Fulham away. I mean, Bowen has been terrific away from home, but Fulham are actually in quite good form currently. So maybe that's not the best fixture either. Maybe getting Hwang in and captaining him against Nottingham Forest might be the deal as well. Maybe that's the way to go because Nottingham Forest are looking terrible and Hwang is looking fantastic. So yeah, but I think Haaland against Luton, like, it just seems like an easy captaincy choice. So yeah, I would go for that personally. Let's move on to the free hit draft from Game Week 15, and for once, I've actually had a decent game week with my free hit draft because if you watched this video or this video content the past few weeks, I've done a free hit draft since like Game Week 10, I think. And pretty much every single game week, I do worse than my own personal team, and I do just a terrible job at picking a free hit team. So finally, I actually got some good results, and some of that is thanks to Hwang, who I mentioned a lot in this video. He ended up with 10 points, getting a goal for Wolverhampton. So yeah, huge from him, 10 points from him. I also had Pedro Porro as one of my favorite differentials. He got an assist against West Ham and could have had more points as well. Could have had the clean sheet as well and a bunch of points, but Spurs, obviously being Spurs, conceded a couple of goals and didn't win the match. So yeah, shame for Pedro Porro, who also got a yellow card, which means I think he is on 4 yellow cards now, which is the same for Hwang as well, if I haven't mentioned that already. He's also on 4 yellow cards, which is kind of a worry, but I think he's been on 4 yellow cards for a while now, so I think now you know that he's not going to be suspended against Nottingham Forest, and that's the biggest reason you're buying him, to get him for Nottingham Forest at home. So at least you have that with Hwang. But yeah, that's a bit of an aside for this free hit draft. But yeah, Kelleher in goal with 6 points. That helped with the point total as well. Other than that, Saka with 5 points. And that's pretty much it for the points this week. But points were just hard to come by in general. I didn't go for any Fulham players because I just didn't have really much faith in them, even playing against Nottingham Forest. Just never had really much faith in Fulham, but maybe I should change that tune a little bit because Fulham are just looking better now. They are just getting results kind of convincingly now as well, even though at the start of the season they were sort of just winning kind of luckily, but now they're actually looking a lot better. Maybe they're figuring something out. And Raul Jimenez as well. hats off to that guy, the Mr. Consistent from back in the day. Happy to see him scoring goals because he's been pretty terrible so far this season. But now he's actually turned a little bit of a corner, and that's really nice to see from someone who had his career turned upside down with that massive head injury. So yeah, that's the biggest side. But either way, that was the free draft for Gaming 15, a gaming rank of about 1.7 million, which is pretty good. I think if you get 1.7 million rank every week, you're going to finish pretty high up in the standings, which is kind of seems counterintuitive because you think that, oh, it's a 1-2 million type of rank, but most people are going to have worse game weeks than that several of the game weeks of the season. So yeah, you're going to gain a lot of rank if you keep just getting gaming ranks in around the top 2 million basically. So yeah, pretty good free draft for once, and actually outscored my team by 7 points. So yeah, happy about that. Let's see if we can continue it with the Gaming 16 draft for the free hit. So obviously I'm not using my free hit personally as well, and I wouldn't recommend using the free hit in these types of game weeks anyway. I think free hit is better used for game weeks where you sort of bridge the gap between two game weeks. Like for example in Game Week 18, if you have, for some reason, if you have a bunch of City players and you have a bunch of players who are potentially injured, you have a bunch of players who get suspended all of a sudden in Game Week 17 from getting the 5th yellow card, then yes, you can use your free hit in Game Week 18. I think that's the best option to use it in those types of game weeks where you just lack a bunch of players and you just need a team basically for one game week to hold you over for the next game week. So, but either way, I'm gonna still do these free hit drafts because I think it's fun just to look at how well I would do if FPL was like a weekly game, because apparently I'm not that good, but this past game week was at least a nice change of pace, so maybe I can keep it up with a good score this week. So let's go through the team. And in goal I have Man City players. I have Ederson starting as the goalkeeper, and just in case he gets arrested for some reason, because that sometimes happens with Pep, usually towards the end of the season, I have Ortega as the backup goalkeeper, who's a really cheap goalkeeper. And now I actually realize, because I did a late change of adding Alvarez to the squad, so I can't actually have Ortega as the backup goalkeeper. So disregard that. Ortega is not the backup goalkeeper. Just have someone like Strakosha or something like that. But yeah, you can't have 4 City players, obviously. But I think Ederson's going to play anyway. I think he's going to be a pretty safe option there. Trent Alexander-Arnold has been in fantastic form lately, and Crystal Palace away is the final good fixture for him, I think, before a couple bad fixtures. So I think it makes all the sense in the world to have him in the free hit draft, especially seeing as we don't have Hwang Son, so we keep some money here as well. We have a lot of money to spend, so Trent is in the team. Pinnock playing against Sheffield United, I think you just need to back against Sheffield United every game week, but they have had a manager change, so maybe Sheffield United will be better the next few game weeks. They looked a bit better this past game week as well, even though they lost against Liverpool. That's a tough opposition though, so it makes sense for them to lose, but they looked a bit better and created a couple of chances. They could have scored as well. So either way, I think Pinnock is still a decent option. Brentford, he's been the best defender for Brentford in terms of goal threat, and yeah, he might get a clean sheet as well. And then we have Dawson against Nottingham Forest. I think that's the best fixture of the whole lot, against Nottingham Forest at home. Forest are just in a terrible, like I said previously, just terrible form lately. So having a defender from Wolverhampton seems like a good option this week. And Dawson is someone that I really like as a West Ham fan. He has a special place in my heart because he was a tremendous player for West Ham, and he's been a really good FPL player as well for a long time. He's always someone who pops up with an odd goal here and there. So yeah, I really like Dawson. Then we have Salah as always in the team playing against Crystal Palace away. I think that's still a really good player to have, even though he has been sort of meh lately. Salah, it seems like he's a bit jittery when it comes to getting that 200th goal that he's chasing. But once he gets that, maybe he gets a hat-trick or something. So yeah, I think Salah is just a nice fail-safe to have, especially when we have the money in the bank to have him. MOTW against Burnley at home, I think this is a good fixture, even though Burnley, for what it's worth, have been much better defensively the last few game weeks. I think the past 6 game weeks, they are like among the top teams for expected goals conceded. So maybe it's not the best fixture, but I think Brighton are just a team that can score 2 or 3 goals every game week, and when you play Burnley, I just think you have to target that, and Mitoma is the most nailed player for Brighton offensively, so he's the one that I've gone for. Hwang as well is another obviously favorite of mine, someone that I'm really considering getting myself, as we'll get to see in the next slide. Nottingham Forest at home, just seems like the stars are aligning for Wolverhampton to destroy Nottingham Forest, and Hwang being the center of attention for that game as well. So yeah, I really like him as an option. Then we also have Cole Palmer, who's another cheap option, but playing against Everton. Everton, to be fair, have been pretty good lately. Beat Newcastle 3-0 at home, so maybe they found their form at Goodison Park as well. But historically, they haven't been the best at Goodison Park, and I think Palmer is doing really well at the moment, and I just like him as a pick, and he's pretty cheap as well, so I quite like him. Hwang captaincy, like I mentioned previously, against Luton, makes all the sense in the world for me, playing against the team that was suspected to be the worst team in the league this season, but I think Sheffield United and Burnley have been even worse, so... But still, I think that's a good fixture. Haaland has had a lot of chances lately as well. He's just been missing them. So maybe this is the game where he actually gets everything to go his way. And I've double-backed City attack with Alvarez as well. He's sort of been a late addition, like I said. I just think he's a decent option this week. I'm not 100% sure if he starts. I think he's going to start, but you don't really know about City now that they've had a couple of bad results in a row. Maybe Alvarez is a slight rotation risk. So I originally had Isak in this position because I think he has a decent chance to score against Spurs because everyone seems to score against Spurs lately. So maybe you want to go with Isak instead rather than Alvarez. But I think Alvarez is a really good option. And if Man City just get that explosion of a game, which I think is going to happen at some point, if they get that 6-0 type of win, I think Alvarez can get some goals and potential assists there as well. So quite like him. And then finally we have Darwin, who I think is going to start, and I always back him when he starts. So I got to back him at the free hit team as well. So that's basically my starting 11. And then I have Garnacho on the bench. I really like him as well, but Bournemouth are a better team than what people give them credit for currently. So maybe he's not the best as well, but he's just a cheap bench option to have as well. Maguire, same thing with him. Player of the month last month. Probably not going to keep a clean sheet against Bournemouth. That's why he's on the bench. And finally, Branthwaite, who's always on the bench for me. And Everton just seem to keep clean sheets in the most unlikely fixtures now as well, keeping a clean sheet against Newcastle. And Branthwaite, once again, looking really good. He really should have had an assist as well for Calvert-Lewin in that game. Just basically passed it through to Calvert-Lewin, who was just on open goal and just hit it over the bar for some reason. But yeah, that's basically the team. I have 4 out of these players in my own team, namely Salah, Haaland, Palmer and Darwin, and yeah, I quite like to look at this team in general. Basically, my favorite differentials in attack, it is Alvarez. In midfield, it is Hwang Hee-chan, and in defense, I think Trent is the best differential option this week. So yeah, make of that what you will. Let's move on to my plans for Game Week 16 finally, because I have some thoughts about this. I have some considerations as well. There's a lot of stuff to talk about really, but I'm probably going to save some of it for next week for a video where I'm going to talk more about my wildcard potentially, which is now looking likely to be in Game Week 20 rather than Game Week 19, because it seems like the double game week in Game Week 20 is not going to happen. And that means I can change the date that I do the wildcard, because obviously the reason that I wouldn't do the wildcard in Game Week 20 previously was because that would be the double game week for Haaland when we played against Brentford at home and Sheffield United at home or some easy game like that. And I would use the triple captaincy on him, and you can't wildcard and use triple captaincy on the same week. So previously I thought that was impossible to do the wildcard in Game Week 20, but now that it doesn't seem like it's a double game week, that seems like the better game week to do a wildcard. But I'll explain more of that in a video next week where I go into what I'm going to do in Game Week 17, 18, 19, and then potentially the wildcard in Game Week 20 and how I can get advantages from having the wildcard this late in the game, basically. But yeah, let's take a look at what I'm going to do in Game Week 16 first and foremost. So these are my Game Week 16 plans, and kind of like Dinesh, I have the same sort of thing here where I need to sell Mbeumo basically. I also have my cash I want to get rid of. I think I have like a slight hope that he might potentially be back in the starting lineup to play Sheffield United at home in Game Week 18. So maybe I'm holding out hope for that to happen, but it's not looking likely currently. So I'm most likely going to sell him next game week. But for this game week, I don't know. The defense isn't that good, but I have bigger things to do with the midfield with Mbeumo being sold, because he's not a long-term pick for me. So looking to sell him. And it's sort of the same thing as with Dinesh. I have a couple considerations here. Gordon is obviously, again, the template boring sort of mainstay pick. If you haven't seen that early in the video, if you look at the Manager of the Week section, I talk more about Gordon and Hwang there, but the same thing applies here. But the difference with me and Dinesh is the fact that I still have my wildcard left. So both Gordon and Hwang are actually better options for me, because they are someone that I can chip out in Game Week 20 for my wildcard. So I don't really have to have them long term. I just need to think about game week 16, 17, 18, 19. And for those 4 fixtures, Gordon actually has some really good fixtures. So I really like the look of Gordon. But the thing that is making this kind of difficult is the fact that I kind of want Trippier, like I mentioned earlier in the video. And if I sell cash to get Trippier, I can do that with the exact money. Right now, I could do Mbeumo to Gordon and cash to Trippier, and I would have 0.0 in the bank. But I know there's going to be price changes. I know I'm going to be priced out of that within the time that I'm trying to get Trippier. So I don't really have the money to do Mbeumo to Gordon, or Mbeumo to Gordon and then cash to Trippier. So the difference of, 0.5, I think, price difference between Hwang and Gordon actually makes a difference here, because that means that I can do Mbeumo to Hwang and still get Trippier in for cash. So that's why I'm sort of leaning more towards Hwang. And like I said as well, I have the option to do the wildcard in game 20, or I'm going to do the wildcard in game 20. And that means I can sell Hwang after those fixtures. I could do the same with Gordon, to be fair, but yeah, for me, Hwang, even though he's more like a short-term pick, for that matter, it doesn't really matter for me because I have the wildcard. So I think I'm leaning more towards Hwang, and he also has the better fixture just straight away against Nottingham Forest. Obviously, the big thing for Gordon compared to Hwang is the fact that Gordon is not on a suspension tightrope, because he's already served his suspension for 5 yellow cards. And Hwang is on that 4th yellow card, which is kind of worrying. That's kind of why I'm like not 100% enthused about going with Hwang either. But he's kept out of getting a yellow card for a long time now anyway, and he's not like a typical yellow card guy either. I think he gets like stupid yellow cards from trying to dive sometimes or trying to do whatever. So I think and just like stupid shit. He's had a lot of like dumb yellow cards this season. I think that's easier to cut out than someone who's like a midfielder who goes for tackles and needs to be like one of those guys who wins the ball and stuff. So I don't think he's going to get a yellow card. I'm not too scared about the 4 yellow cards anyway. And I think his next fixture, like I said earlier, his fixture against Nottingham Forest at home is his best fixture by far in the next 4 game weeks. That is like the fixture that I'm targeting, and we know that he's not going to be suspended for that one. So I quite like Hwang. I probably like Gordon just slightly more if he was the same price. But the price difference means that I would probably rather go with Hwang and then get Trippier in potentially next week for Medicash. But speaking of Trippier in, the other option that I have to get Trippier in, or potentially someone else in for that matter, is doing Mbeumo to Garnacho, because I really like Garnacho as a player. I think he's looked really good lately. I think he's going to play at least for the next 4 game weeks, which is when I need him. Personally, I also think Garnacho could potentially have like his breakout season where he just like makes the left wing spot his, and he's going to be a fantastic option for the rest of the season. That's why I sort of want to be on him early, and then if he loses his spot again, or it seems like he doesn't really do much for the next 4 game weeks, I could easily chip him out on the wildcard in game 20. But if he performs really well and makes the spot his, I'm going to be really early on him and get a lot of points from him at a cheap price. So that is kind of tempting with me with Garnacho, but looking at his fixtures, just like looking deeper into his fixtures, I'm not 100% sold on him being like a fantastic pick. He's playing Bournemouth at home, which usually would be a really good fixture, but now that Bournemouth are looking much better, they've had like some of the best expected goals conceded lately and have been scoring a lot of goals lately as well. I just don't think that fixture is good enough to warrant Garnacho in. He plays Liverpool away in the game week after that, and then he plays West Ham, I think, away or at home. Plays West Ham the week after that as well. So, and then Aston Villa at home in game week 19. So I think the other players just have better fixtures, but he is much cheaper. He is 4.7, and that gives me the option to go from Kabore to Trippier. Actually, I have enough money to do that, or potentially also going from Archer to Solanke, which is the other thing that I'm considering. Whether I do the Mbeumo to Hwang move or Mbeumo to Garnacho move, I have the money to do Archer to Solanke instead, rather than getting Trippier. So that's also something I'm considering. But yeah, being able to sell Kabore rather than cash is beneficial for me in game week 18 if cash is secured to play in that game for Aston Villa. But I don't think that's going to be likely. So that's why I'm sort of leaning more towards Hwang now, even though I early in the week was looking to get Garnacho just because I wanted to upgrade Kabore rather than cash, because I kind of wanted to keep cash. But I think one of my weaknesses as an FPL player is the fact that I don't really want to give up on players that I've had for a long time. I made the same mistake with Udogie previously in game week 10 or game week 11 when I had both Udogie and Pedro Porro. I had to sell one of them because Spurs had pretty poor fixtures coming up. And I ended up selling Peter Porro instead rather than Udogie, because I had Udogie from Game Week 1. I sort of had like investments in him in terms of, what's the fallacy again? I can't even remember what the fallacy is. Sunk cost fallacy, that's the one. So yeah, I sort of had that weakness in me. So I can't even remember. Yeah, Cash. I sort of just want to give him more chances just to prove himself, and hopefully he can play in Game Week 18. But I think I should just let it go and just sell him, because yeah, most likely he's not going to be the best player to have going forward, and I don't think he's going to have a high likelihood of playing against Sheffield United. And if he does as well, probably not going to do much, because Sheffield United, for the firstly, they look a bit better now with the new manager. It's only been one game, and secondly, Aston Villa and Cash just haven't really done much at all this season to warrant him being someone that I save for my team. So that means that I'm leaning more towards selling or getting Hwang for Mbeumo rather than Garnacho. But I do quite like Garnacho as a differential option, and I also like him as a potential like cheap pick in Game Week 20 when I do my wildcard. So yeah, those are just some of my thoughts for this game week. But yeah, I really wanted to go like more of a deep dive into like my plans for up until Game Week 20 as well. I actually thought about doing that for this video, but this video is already 35 minutes long, so I'm just going to cut it off there, and I'm going to move that to next week when I have the bigger decisions, when I have the money in the bank to do either Cash to Trippier or Archer to Solanke, and a couple other moves in Game Week 18 and 19, where I kind of want to get Watkins in Game Week 18 and still have Haaland and Darwin, because I want to have Darwin for Game Week 19 as well against Burnley. So I'm going to go more into that on Tuesday next week, when we finally get like a proper normal game week again, where we have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to have content every day for you. So yeah, look out for that. I'm going to have that video on Tuesday, and then on the Monday I'm going to have like a sort of FPL eye test. I haven't had the FPL eye test this week because there's just been so many matches in so few days, but I'm going to do like a look through all the 3 last games for all the teams in the Premier League, just to have you caught up with what's the latest with the teams and how they're looking and stuff. So look forward to that on Monday. So please subscribe if you like the sound of that, if you like this video. Been a bunch of stuff here in this video in general, so I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time, and goodbye.